Hello, I'm Ben Bamboozle, and today I'm at Botton's Family Fun Fairs event, their Halloween event at Beckenham Place Park, and the Punch and Judy show is set up behind me with a giant spider and a little bit of Halloween decoration on it, of course. And I'll just give you a quick pan around the fair. The bouncy castles are just being blown up. Well, not blown up, with explosives, with air. And there's the rest of the fairground behind me. And I thought I'd just do a little backstage tour of the show and show you some of the puppets and what goes on behind the scenes in the Punch and Judy show. People ask me how I get into the Punch and Judy show. Well, the answer is through the back door. So if I go through underneath here, where nobody's allowed apart from me, and round the back here, this part here zips up, and this is actually how I get inside the show. So inside here you can see all the puppets hanging up. They all hang on these hooks, a bit like coat hooks. Mr. Punch is always on my right hand, so Mr. Punch is the only puppet that's on the right hand side apart from the sausages hanging up there. Then all the bits and bobs that I use in the show are on top of the box. That's the box that I keep the puppets in when I pack away. So now I'm inside, I've got the tripod set up, I'm now hands-free. Let's have a little look at the puppets. So we'll start off at the beginning. So the first puppet that you'll see in the show is this character here. Now, some of you, if you're local to Worthing, you might recognise this guy, because this is our town crier, who is in a blue costume, and he's actually the only puppet in the show that that is based on a real live person. His name is Bob Smitherman, and he is the Worthing town crier. I need to get his bell, actually, here's his bell. And he comes up, he's like, "Oh yay, God save the king now." And he goes around announcing that the Punch and Judy show is about to begin, and he asks the boys and girls if they've seen a monkey, and of course they haven't, but they're about to. And I had him made a few years ago. I was doing a lot of, well, I still do a lot of events in Worthing, and whenever I use him, because Bob is such a local celebrity, he gets a lot of attention when I'm in Worthing. And as far as I know, I'm the only Punch and Judy show with a town crier in it, and obviously town crier is an old tradition, same as Punch and Judy, so I thought it'd be a good idea to have him in the show. Now this puppet here, he was made by my good friend Mareka. All Punch and Judy puppets are usually signed by the maker inside the neck. I'm just rolling the sleeve back to try and show you here. If I can get it back there. So there we go, it's signed by Mareka, and she made him in 2016. And she did a fantastic job on him. I just gave her a picture of Bob and she made the puppet to him. I highly recommend, if anybody's after Punch and Judy puppets, I recommend that you speak to Mareka. She's a good friend of mine. Tell her that Ben Bamboozle sent you, and she'll sort you out. She's very good for young performers as well. In fact, she actually helped me when I first started getting into Punch and Judy as well. But more on that later. So yeah, this one was made by Mareka. Out of my set, I've got one other puppet made by Mareka that I use as well. So, on to puppet number 2. The cheeky monkey. Get him on my hand, here he goes. And by the way, how we work the glove puppets, what I do when I put my hand inside the puppet, put my first finger, that goes inside the head, so there's a big hole inside the head. All the puppets are hand carved out of wood. So that goes inside there. The thumb works the other arm here, and this finger comes out here to work the other arm. Some of the puppets have got a big enough sleeve that I can actually get all 3 fingers in. I think Mr. Puncher worked with 3 fingers like that, so that's how we work a glove puppet. And there is the cheeky monkey. He doesn't do a lot in the show, he doesn't say anything. He pops up and down with the next show sign, which I've got here. This is actually a recent addition. I got this from eBay. It was made by Teddy Corden, who's a very famous Punch and Judy puppet, also makes puppets as well. It did have a Punch and Judy either side of it, but I decided to take them off because I used the monkey for popping up and down with the sign like this at the start, and the monkey pushes it down, he pops up, and then the sign pops up like that, and he pushes it down, it pops up. You get the idea. We do quite a bit of that at the start. So the monkey's just like a little warm-up really. If it's a bit quiet, especially at shows like this where I'm at a fairground today, if I've not got much of an audience to start, no matter how much you stand out the front sort of talking on the microphone to try and get people to sit down, there's nothing as good as them seeing the puppets. When they see the puppets bouncing up and down and the music and everything, that's when they tend to come and sit down. Oh, I forgot to say the maker of the monkey actually. This was made by Brian Clark, who I'm sure many of you will know. And there we go, it's signed by Brian. and that monkey was made in 2013. So it's getting on a bit now. I'm not sure what age monkeys reach maturity. So here is one of my favourites. This one is also made by Brian Clark, quite a bit earlier than the monkey. I'm not sure how old he is exactly. I think some point in the 90s this one was made. Bit of a weird dress on him, but he's again a novelty puppet, and he's Mr. Longneck, so his neck pops up and down like so, and he can do tricks. He can go all the way around and back the other way, and basically he's got a big stick that you push up and down. You don't actually put your fingers into his arms stay there all by themselves, and yeah, he pops up and down. The first time he comes up dancing, and the first time there's a change in the music, and when he pops his head up, it always gets screams from the kids and laughs from the mums and dads. It's a bit naughty, isn't it? That always goes down well. And the music that I use is an instrumental version of Mambo No. 5. You might remember the old song, A Little Bit of Monica in My Life. You know the one. But I used an instrumental version of that by, I think it's a Cuban band, the Mambo Kings or something it's called. But I've always used that since I started. So they're the two puppets I use on the warm-up. And then they get their first look at Joey the Clown, who also does a bit of pop-up on the warm-up. Here's Joey the Clown. Again, this one was made by Brian Clark. And when was this one made? This one was also made in 2013. There's the signature that you see on there. And to start with, he replaced a previous Joey that I had that was also made by Brian that was a lot lighter. It took me a while to get used to this one because he's got a very heavy head. The more you hollow out the inside, the lighter the heads are. Very nice one, this one. I like his costume. He's also got the flowers on, which also coincidentally now matches my Mr. Punch as well, which I like. I like that because obviously Joey's best mate of Mr. Punch. For those who don't know, Joey was based on a real clown, Joseph Grimaldi, who was buried at the Clown's Church in London. Apologies for the "We Will Rock You" every few seconds on here and the noise. I'm obviously at a fairground and they're just getting ready, so they've got this annoying voice box that they have on all day. Hopefully that's not too distracting on the video. But yeah, there's Joey the Clown from London town. Let's show you Judy. Now Judy here, she was made by a friend of mine, Chris van der Kratz, in Australia, and I had her made before the Punch. He also made my Punch, but I've got another Punch made by him that was based on a Fred Tickner puppet, and this Judy is also based on a Fred Tickner Judy. But she's very lovely to use, very nice and lightweight. I don't know if Chris signs his. I don't think he does. Does he? No, he doesn't sign his. And then you can see no signature on there. But he also puts a wire in the sleeve as well, which is very nice. It makes it very easy. It's always open to get your hand in to lift Judy up. So that's Judy. Not a huge nose on Judy, but very nice. Then we've got the only puppet in the set that I made. A lot of people always ask me if I make my own puppets. They always think that if you do Punch and Judy, they always assume that you've made your puppets yourself, which is a bit of a strange analogy. Glyn Edwards always says it's a bit like, does Eric Clapton make his own guitars? Which I think is quite fitting. There's no real reason why, if you do Punch and Judy shows, you should make your own puppets. I don't think. You'd be the best performer in the world, but you might be rubbish at woodwork. It doesn't always follow that you're going to make your own puppets, but anyway, that's what people think. And this I did experiment with making some puppets, but I haven't really got workshop space and everything. But I did make this fella years ago, back in 2012. I made him. Like 2012, I've definitely signed him. I know I have. There you go. That's me. 2012 he was made. And yeah, PC 99 or PC Tips. He's got the little moustache, the dodgy moustache. I wanted him to be a bit sort of, I didn't want the kids to necessarily be on his side. But he's done the job well. He's been good for me, this policeman. I think I did a good job on him. He's lasted very well. The one thing that I like is I did his hat. I made his hat out of wood as well. I bought a lathe and turned it on the lathe, so it's a really strong hat. I mean, I really hollowed it out, so it's not actually too heavy. But I think I did a good job on painting the badge as well. Let me know what you think of the policeman, but I think I did a good job on him. So that's PC99. Then we've got the baby. Here's the baby, looking a bit worse for wear because the baby does end up getting chucked about a bit and falls over quite a lot, so probably gets the most bashing, the baby, actually. So as you can see on there, could do with a little bit of a touch up on the baby's face. Again, this was made by Brian Clark Baby. That's the baby. It's just on a stick. You don't actually work it like a glove puppet, it's just a stick puppet. Punch does a lot of holding the baby and everything, and when I'm working the baby and he falls over and stuff, it's easy for me to just use the stick rather than trying to put my hand inside the baby. So that's the baby. We have the classic, one of the favourite puppets. Oh, well, not necessarily my favourite, but everybody else's favourite, the crocodile. This was made by Brian Clark back in 2010, I think I got the crocodile. As you can see, it's had a lot of use, but it's still going strong. The crocodile, of course, has a little hole here, which when Mr. Punch puts the sausages in his mouth, I then slide my hand out of his mouth, and Mr. Punch lifts his mouth up and down, and I get my finger and thumb, and I pull the sausages all the way through, and then they land on my toe. So the crocodile is made out of papier-mâché on his head here. This is all papier-mâché, which goes into the sleeve. And then you've got the hinge with the 2 bits of wood here. It has a good snapping sound. That's nice and loud, you can hear that for miles away when I do it in the show. So sometimes if I've got a kid at the front, standing up at the front, I really give it a whack and they soon sit down. So yeah, crocodile. There he is. Very nice eyes, realistic eyes on him as well. It's a bit creepy. It goes from the crocodile to the skeleton. Now this is a puppet that was made by Brian Clark, but this is an old one. Let me see if the date's on here. It's not, but the signature by Brian is on there. I believe this was made in 1985, I believe. Now when I first started doing Punch and Judy shows, again it's a long neck one with the stick inside. All I'm doing is just spinning it around. I never put my hands in the arms again with this one. I'm just working it with just spinning it around with my fingers. When I first started Punch and Judy, a friend of mine had a set of puppets that he very kindly sold to me for a good price, and they just so happened to be a full set of Brian Clark puppets. So I was extremely lucky that I don't even know how he acquired them. He wasn't a Punch and Judy performer. He just happened to have them up in his loft, along with a very old tatty booth, which was no good, but we used some bits off of it. So yeah, I ended up with this. So this is the only puppet out of that original set that I bought that I still use. I sold a few of them. I've still got the Punch and the Judy, because the Punch is very nice. Well, it's a unique one that I've not seen Brian made another one of, actually. But yeah, this is the skeleton that I use. So this is probably is the oldest puppet in my set. So I was born in 86 and this was 85, I think, so old as me. Older than me. So that's the skeleton. Then the Wicked Witch, or the Wicked Witch of Worthing. So here she is. I got this one, this is the newest puppet to the set, actually. Again, this was made by Mareka, and I got this one in 2019, so there you go, that's the newest puppet in the set. I did have another witch that I used before this one, which was from a German Casper set of puppets that I've got. But I like this one because the one that I had was more of a traditional sort of looking witch, whereas this is, the kids weren't always sure that it was a witch because it had one big tooth from the Hohensteiner Casper puppets. Hohensteiner, hopefully I pronounced that right. If you know what I'm talking about, it's got one big tooth, and the kids sometimes thought it was Dracula or a vampire. But this one, there's no doubting that this is definitely a witch as soon as they see it. So she gets a lot of booze, and she has various props that she pops up with in the end of net that she tries to catch Miss Punch with. And of course it goes wrong. Now, not many Punch and Judy shows use a witch. I used to use the devil in the show. Some people got a bit funny with the devil, some people got funny thoughts about the devil, so I don't like to upset anyone. So I swapped to the witch and basically did the same routine and never had any complaints since. So yeah, the Wicked Witch of Worthing. She's getting a few scratches on her nose, but again, Marika did a fantastic job on this one. Really like the costume and the cape and everything. Yeah, she's really cool. So that's the Wicked Witch. The favourite, well, I'll show you the sausages and I'll show you Mr. Punch. So here's the sausages. Can't remember who made the sausages. Oh, actually I can. Jonathan Arthur's made these, I think. Made the sausages years ago. I think I actually bought 2 strings and sewed them together, so I've got an extra long string of sausages. Sometimes the kids try to grab these, so you've got to be on your game, make sure the kids are sat down before you bring out the sausages. And here we go, the main man, Mr. Punch. Here he is. It's hard to get him all in shot because he's so big. Now he was made by Chris van der Kratz, as I said, made by Judy. I've got 2 punches made by him. I've got this one and another one which is based on a Fred Tickner, as I said earlier. This one is based on an old Victorian punch that we had some pictures of. It's basically an exact replica of him, well, nearly exact replica. Chris has made a few of these, but he never makes 2 puppets the same. He always makes them slightly different. And I love this punch. It took me a while to get used to him because he is so big and big to work with, but he's got this huge nose. Apparently, well, Punch has always got a big nose, but apparently the story is that in the Victorian times they made his nose even bigger to give Toby the dog something to bite hold of, because they used to use a real live dog, Toby, who used to sit up here on the playboard, and they teach him to do tricks, and one of them was to bite Punch on the nose. So they ended up making his nose even bigger. Punch always has a hump on his back. There's his hump. And he's got the flower costume. This is actually wool as well, because I wanted it so as over the years that this would fade a bit and look old and vintage, which it's starting to go that way. You can't really fake that at all, but it's starting to get there. It's certainly had a lot of use, this Punch. And of course Punch is the only character that has legs, so he's got 2 little holes inside his legs, which if I use my hand, my favourite bit at the start where he wiggles his legs, and then he eventually goes, oh, I need the swazzle to do his voice, but he falls off and then he sticks his legs up like that. I love doing that bit at the start. So that's Punch. And going back to the swazzle of how I do the voice, for those who don't know how I do the voice, this is the swazzle, this is the thing, this is what does Mr. Punch's voice. So it's 2 silver plates with a piece of tape through the middle. Hopefully you can see that, this tape that's wrapped around it. That goes inside my mouth, sits on top of my tongue, and I blow air through it to get Mr. Punch to talk. So he says that's the way to do it a lot. That's the way to do it. My favourite bit when he's snoring. And he sings. So yeah, that's Mr. Punch. As I say, he's always on my right hand, so the only time that it comes off my right hand from the moment that I put him on is when I do the witch routine and I pass the props up to the witch, but apart from that he's on my hand for pretty much the whole show. So that's Mr. Punch. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed that little video of a little look at all the puppets and a bit of the history behind them. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try and answer them for you. There's just a little short video for you there, but please check out my other videos if you've not seen my channel before. I've got lots of Punch and Judy content on here and plenty more to come. Oh, it's starting to get breezy. Luckily the booth is well staked down. So make sure, as always, that you give it a like, and make sure that you subscribe to my channel as well, because it really helps. I'm trying to build the channel up and get as many subscribers as I possibly can at the moment, so please do hit the subscribe button. And yeah, as I say, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask me, and hopefully I'll see you at the show very soon. And if you'd like to see the show, I've actually got a video of the full Punch and Judy show on my channel as well. And yeah, I've got to go now, get ready to start doing my shows for the day. The fair's just about opening now, and the sun's out. It's very warm for October, so it should be a good day. Bye bye everybody.